Welcome back to Tough Men of Faith.
How you doing, RT?
Doing good, Nick.
Good. You doing all right?
I'm doing great.
How's your backside?
What?
Your
What
backside.
kind of question is that?
Well, if you don't recall, this weekend we did the NASCAR driver
Oh,
thing.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I spanked you all the way around the track.
That's not how I remember that. But
Really?
yeah, I remember as soon as you got on the track, I came up behind you and they're like, what was your number?
22.
Driver number 22, lift off the gas and get to the left
Oh, really?
so 95 can pass. Isn't that what happened?
That's not the way I recall it.
Oh, okay.
But
It started that way. You passed me after that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
That was
okay.
awesome. I
All right.
recommend anybody, any man, any tough man, go out and do that.
It was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
That's
and a
good.
lot harder. I couldn't
for
see
sure.
anything.
Right.
I have a new respect for
I didn't even know
NASCAR
if you could
drivers.
look over the dash. I was worried about you in that car. I think you make fun of my beautiful eyelashes all the time,
Yeah.
so this is like a little bit of payback.
Yeah. Your backside may be hurting later. Anyways.
What are we doing today?
Well, I was going to thank our sponsor, Workforce Chaplains. They're still sponsored. They may drop.
Yeah, they're probably going
sponsoring
to drop
after
us
this.
now.
But if you're, this is a great company. They provide chaplains to corporate America.
Yeah.
And so if you need a chaplain to come in and talk to your people or just kind of be a ministry of presence, they just walk around, check in on them, see how they're doing. It's just a great opportunity. So check them out, Workforce Chaplains.
Yep.
So, yeah, we have another guest today.
Are you ready?
Yeah, you go ahead and introduce him.
Nope. I can't pronounce his last name, so.
I can. Josh Sousa, right?
That's correct.
They got it right.
All right, nice job.
All right, so we got Josh with us. I met Josh probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
He's part of a nonprofit, and he came by the group I was part of and was kind of explaining his nonprofit. And I was like, man, I'd like to get to know him. So
Yeah.
we got coffee and talked, and I was like, hey, you ever heard of our podcast? And he's like, nope.
Nope.
Well, he didn't say that, but it's like, you should come on. So, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what we like to ask guys when they've the first time on is this. So how did Josh get to the age you're at now from when you were born? It's like, what does your faith journey look like? And it's like key events in your life. And can you kind of take us through that? And Nick will interrupt you with some sarcastic remarks at some point. Just
do
to
that.
That's great. I love it.
go ahead and warn you. So
Yeah, so I mean, I'll give you like a very abbreviated version. Feel free to ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
But I was originally born on the East Coast. My dad's an immigrant from Portugal. My mom's American. And somewhere about the age of 13, we moved to the Midwest for my dad's job. And we were kind of in and out of church. We always went, but like my parents never got to a place where they're like, we really connect to this,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Not really like a commitment.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we literally tried everything under the sun. But somewhere in high school, I kind of, I grew up with like a very legalistic version of Christianity where like everything was a sin. And so I got to a point where I was like, well, look, if I'm going to go to hell trying, I might as well go to hell and not try so hard. So
might as well have some fun on your way there.
that's
So
it.
how was that Pentecostal church that you went to?
Actually, that's exactly where
I knew
was
that.
going to.
I already knew that. I know what the message was every Sunday. It's like, oh, get saved or you're going to hell.
That's
and,
it.
Let's just beat it into their head.
Listen, I always tell people, I was like, as a reaction to eternal security, they taught eternal insecurity.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was very insecure.
Yeah. I only make jokes because I have friends that are Pentecostal, and
Yeah.
I give them the same crap.
It's amazing. I love it. So yeah, somewhere I actually like went off to a Bible college, and I was telling RT like, even when I started Bible college, I'm pretty sure I wasn't really like a Christian. But somewhere in that freshman year, I didn't have a single moment where it's like, this is it. This is when I became a Christian. It was just like a progression of like things started to make more sense. I started understanding my faith a little bit more, and my commitment got deeper.
You start living a little bit different. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So it was a progression for me. But then graduated from Bible school, went into full-time ministry. I've been in pastoral ministry before I do what I do now. I was some form of a pastor, whether youth, worship, lead, whatever, for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And then stepped away from that to do what I do now, which is full-time campus ministry. And then currently I serve at IU Indianapolis,
Okay.
running a ministry there called Chi Alpha.
Okay. What's that?
So it's a campus ministry at IU Indy. Basically, the focus of that type of way of doing ministry is all discipleship focused.
Okay.
So although we might have a weekly service, our weekly service is not our thing. Our thing is one-on-one discipleship, small group discipleship, living
Nice.
missional lifestyles in the community together, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So did you plant a church?
So I helped plant
You
a
helped
church.
plant a church,
Yeah,
okay.
with the youth pastor that basically he was like the closest thing I had to a relationship with God in high school was because of him,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. What was that process like? Like planning a church and taking it from scratch and
It is hard.
yeah.
I mean, it's really hard because I was bivocational for a year and a half of that
Okay.
process. And so I worked in sales with FedEx
Okay.
and having to work a full-time job, but then also bearing the pressure of like, if no people show up, I won't ever be able to do something different than the way I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's like you're not growing the church just to put butts in the seats, but
Mm-hmm.
if butts don't show up and don't pay bills, you
Right.
don't get
Yeah.
paid, right?
Then it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I mean, man, it was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I say hard, we had a modular building that we used for kids ministry.
Yeah.
We renovated half of the modular building as an apartment for me to live in. And so like I literally would be getting ready to hop on over to church, and like the people that were getting ready to start kids church, like they'd
Hold
be
on,
pounding
I'm
the
brushing my
music.
teeth.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's
Were you
like
married at this time?
yeah.
Did you have kids?
She was pregnant with our first.
Okay.
Yeah. So it
Man.
was just a crazy.
You went all
experience.
in though on church
Yeah.
planning, right? Like
I
that's
really
like
did.
sacrifice. I'm going to live in the church modular. It's part kids ministry, part pastor parsonage.
Yeah. A little bit different when you're 24, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's Nick gives me a hard time sometimes. I know,
What?
joking, but you have your TV preachers and everyone kind of focuses on the private jets and all that. But like the
Yeah.
real work of ministry is, hey, I'm going to live in half this building so we can use the other half for church.
that's right. It's so true, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no private jets
Yeah.
for Josh.
Then it becomes a confessional. You just talk through my curtain wall for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what led you to? So Chi Alpha is a college ministry.
Yeah.
What led you to that? Like,
So my best friend in college, he does the same thing at Missouri State University in Springfield, Missouri. And he actually had me come and speak at a retreat for him. And he basically just challenged me. He said, listen, we're best friends. I've never asked you to do anything like this before, but I'm going to ask you to take a month of your life and fast and pray whether you should be pastoring your church or should be doing this instead. And because he's my best friend, I was like, I'll do it. I really didn't think I was going to change.
Very reluctantly.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'll do it. But, and so I share this story with a lot of people. Like one of the biggest things is like Chi Alpha, it's umbrellaed with a fellowship, and within that missions arm of that fellowship, like you can't have a certain threshold of student debt. Because it just becomes too complicated as a missionary
Like
to raise
debt
money.
that you have from
Yeah,
college.
that's
okay.
strictly school loans,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And I just knew we were above the threshold. My
Yep.
wife went to grad school and all that stuff. So I was like, it's just not going to happen. And what's crazy is like within the first week or two of that journey, we had a really close individual in our life call us who didn't really know anything about our finances, but basically just said I was doing some morning devos and the Lord told me I was supposed to write you a check. And it was not like this rounded figure. It was like something in 37 cents, and that was literally to the penny what the payoff amount was of one of our student loans.
Oh, wow.
To then knock us under the threshold. So like when that happened, it was like, Lord, you have my attention.
Oh, yeah.
You can do a burning bush if you'd like, but
Yeah.
I think I get it.
Yeah, I think I just got it actually.
Yeah. And so that's basically what it was. We announced to our church like we were going to step down and pursue campus ministry,
Yeah.
and that's what we did.
Yeah, and things were going well at your church, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there was nothing like the church was growing, it was
Yeah.
thriving. I mean, it was a little slice of heaven for me because, again, growing up in the home of an international father,
Yeah.
I always grew up, especially in the East Coast, in neighborhoods that were multi-international. And the church I was pastoring, we had 20 nationalities in it. So, like,
Wow.
it was like a slice of heaven for me every
Yeah.
Sunday to see, like, Spanish and Korean and everyone worshiping Jesus in their language. And
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah. So now in your ministry, you spend a lot of time with college age, right? Young
That's
people?
basically
Or
all I
you
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that go?
So, as far as like, what does it look like?
I mean, are you out recruiting, not recruiting people, but finding people? Or people coming
Yeah.
to you? I mean,
No, I mean, we go on campus and we
Okay.
find people,
Yeah.
and it can be awkward,
yeah, you're the awkward Bible thumper on campus, like passing out the little Bibles and just chucking them at
So
people.
no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do show up to. We have there at IU Indy what they call the Croft.
Hang
It's
out
the-
outside frat parties. Just
No, I
wait.
definitely. Could you imagine at my age? Oh my gosh. No.
Yeah.
But I do walk up to like the rec field.
Yeah.
And I'll just like join a volleyball game with a bunch of
Okay.
students, right?
Cool.
And I mean, I always get the questions. They're like, "Are you like the dad of one of the students here, or whatever?" You know, because I literally am the age.
Have you ever heard of
their
Van
dads.
Wilder? Because that's me.
Yeah.
I'm year number 17.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But no, I just walk on campus and
Nice.
yeah, just befriend students and
Yeah.
then invite them into a journey of hanging out and
Yeah.
you know,
Awesome.
following Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, as a dad who's sending kids to college now, one last year, one next year, one year after that, like I'm thankful for guys like you and your wife who are ministering on campus because they leave, still plugged into a church,
Yeah.
but then they head off into a world that's not always friendly to Christians,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
true.
all of a
Generally
sudden,
not friendly to
generally
Christians.
not like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the college campus, right? It's just not. And then
Right. And it's not like a Bible college. I mean,
No.
this is just, your everyday, like, not community
State
college, but you know
school.
what I mean?
yeah,
state
state
school.
school,
and,
right?
Yep.
It's just not exactly friendly.
No,
No.
not at all. But then
Yeah.
they'll find some Christians that they
Yeah.
can plug in and
Yeah, plug
talk
into and
with
relate to and-
discipleship and
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm realizing though on campus, like the more I'm there, it's not that so many students are antagonistic towards Christians. They're antagonistic towards what they think Christians are. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
They have an idea and a belief, and that's what they want to stay
Yeah.
away from.
And we have those. Like we have this one person who comes to campus every year. She's like TikTok famous, and she is the stereotype of whatever you think bad evangelism is,
Yeah.
right? And so that's like when they see that, they go, "Yeah, that's Christianity I want nothing to do with."
right.
But the students that actually give us the time will have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
Most oftentimes, what we're finding is like they're actually pretty open-minded to a faith that's relational and what I would use is like incarnational. Like we're in the campus, loving the people of the campus. We're not there to preach on a corner and shout out everyone's sins. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, it does.
So
Well, it's kind of like what I want to lead into with the rest of the discussion, if you don't mind. Is like I read this article a few weeks ago by a guy named Chuck Lawless.
Okay.
I actually had him as a professor in seminary.
okay,
But he wrote it a few years back. But it talks about reasons that young men struggle with the church, even though they're raised in church, but talking about that college age. So he listed 7 reasons. So I thought maybe we could just talk through some of them.
that would be awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Because it'd be cool to get your perspective of being one who's working directly with these guys
Yeah.
in that age. So he said basically like number one, they've been told what to believe, not taught why to believe it. No one's ever helped them think through their beliefs. The message they've heard instead is just believe it because we're telling you.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, what's hard about that is like most freshmen that are Christians, they get on campus and then they take their first like intro to philosophy course,
Yeah.
and then the philosophy professor destroys everything they were told to believe in
Yeah.
one simple argument. And when that happens, it's like, oh, my faith is wrecked,
Yeah.
right? But it's because of that, like they can't defend what they believe because they don't even know how. They
Right.
don't know why they even should hold that truth, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I actually find that to be very true.
Yeah. And I think it like forces you into like going deeper in scripture and like learning it or push you the other way. Because
Yeah.
I went to the school that you minister at and I signed up for a religion class.
Mm.
So I show up. And I remember the professor, like, he gets the Bible out. And in the first class, it was clear, like, he doesn't believe the Bible is God's word. I'd never heard anybody say anything remotely
Yeah.
close to that, how I grew up. And I remember raising my hand, like, so you don't think Jesus was actually, like, here on earth or believe what's in the Bible? He's like, no, not at all, and laughed at me. And the class laughed. And it's like, but he's teaching a religion class. Like, he has a degree, like a doctorate in religion.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, he pulled me aside. He's like, hey, man, I just want to tell you, like, religion classes isn't for you here. You need to go sign up for something else. To which I did. And I thank him for doing that.
Here I
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
ceramics.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I actually joined an acting class after that instead.
Did you really?
Amazing.
But it was that thought process of like, I've been told what to believe my whole life,
Yeah.
but I've never had to dive in and be like, why do I actually believe Christianity?
Yeah,
Right, so
for
kind of
sure.
force that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we try to do to help with that is early on in the discipleship process, we always confront students with the question, do you believe Jesus rose from the dead? Because for me, that's actually the question.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Because I mean, Christianity, like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, like if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then this is really all kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all just a big
You
story.
know, it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's what you have to investigate. Were the disciples willing to die for a known lie, if that's the case?
Yeah.
You know, and I just feel like the evidence speaks to he actually rose from the dead. And if that's true, then he's someone worth listening to and following.
Yeah. Do you find, so you and I would disagree on some like secondary or maybe third degree issues.
That's probably possible.
Probably,
yeah.
right? Just like this knowing where you're at and where I'm at.
Yeah.
So there was a time, especially going into college.
Come
like,
on, let's open up some debate.
Well, I would have debated and argued and thought the way I grew up, like thought you're going to hell because you believe some of these things that I don't.
Sure.
But then when you get to college, at least when I showed up, it's like, hey man, if you believe Jesus rose from the dead and you put your faith in him and that's how salvation comes, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find that the second and third kind of issues falling off more? Like,
I would think so, because especially here's what's interesting is like, you know, you're making jokes about Pentecostals and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like technically our ministry is Pentecostal, right? And
Here we
which,
go.
but
Way
it doesn't
to go,
bother me.
Nick.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Uh.
But it's what's really cool, and I think we talked about this, is like the bulk of the students that actually connect to us are Baptist and Catholic. And I don't know that I could tell you why. Maybe just because it's different and they're like, I'm just investigating,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. But I feel like at the end of the day, like a lot of these secondary or tertiary like
Yeah.
views, whatever, they just don't matter
Yep.
as much.
yeah. Let's jump in number 2.
Yeah.
Before I get us in some more trouble.
It's like them
Well, if
Pentecostals.
you
like, well,
saw
I'm
me
walking
shaking
out.
over here a little bit when you're talking, making fun of Pentecostals, I know where Josh is. And,
I did this the other day. I was in a sales meeting with a homeowner, and
oh my goodness.
they have a false front porch it's actually the back of their house, but it faces the street. And she said, "Why do we need this false front porch?" And I was like, "Well, that way it looks like the front of a house from the street." And I said, "Then if Jehovah's Witness comes up and knocks on your door, you can just ignore him because it's the back door." And nobody laughed. I was like, "Oh no, I did it again." And she's like, "Oh, I just didn't hear what you said. It's okay." I was like, "Oh, good. Here we go."
So hold on. Quick
Okay.
question. Does this happen to you a lot?
Yeah, I usually say things
Like
out of
regretting
line
what he
and
says?
then,
Yeah.
All the time. Like
That's
this
amazing.
dude, he sits in the second row when I preach. And we can't have like a crowd mic on the live stream because we wouldn't want everyone else to know what he's saying during church.
That's incredible. I love
Yeah.
it.
It's not.
That's awesome.
It's a gift and a curse. Anyway,
Let's keep going. We
Yeah.
got a few more minutes here. The second one that he mentioned, why young men raised in church still struggle at church. They long for older mentors, but can't find them in the local church.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, you know, when I was a pastor, sometimes I did find it difficult to get older men to want to take some of these younger men under their wing.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is like there's a lot of immaturity that comes, you know, with being younger.
Yep.
And sometimes the older guys are like, do I really want to deal with all that again? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I would say that my most effective time in campus ministry has been now in my 40s
Yeah.
because people are talking to me not as their friend, but as a fatherly
Yeah.
figure. And I do think there's something about this like transgenerational connection that's like can be very helpful for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think what's happening now is young men are looking for that and they're finding it outside the church.
Yep.
So that's the reason you see the rise of a Jordan Peterson, a Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, all these guys that everyone's flooding to them and looking at everything they put out. And
Right.
and some of it may be okay, right? I mean, I don't listen to a lot of it, but instead of finding those guys in the local church, like that guy who's worked in the factory for 50 years and's loved his wife that entire time and raised kids who are serving in the church and who's, you know, actively involved in a deacon or serving somehow in the church, like, hey, we need to like connect that older dude with that younger guy
Yep.
instead
Yeah.
of this guy he's watching TikTok videos of they don't ever meet that's telling him to go out and make all this money.
Right.
It's like,
No, I think it's really good.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
part of the problem too. Is I mean, when we're looking for something, we're going to find it.
Yeah.
Now whether it's in the right place or not.
when guys are looking for a cause,
Yeah.
like we're looking to fight a battle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
we'll find something.
We're
to
looking
do.
for something to occupy our time.
Yeah, we can't
And,
be bored. If
right.
not, we're going to sit around, look at porn, or get in trouble.
Yeah, get in trouble.
Yeah. Yep.
So, next one. This is a good one. Their churches have sometimes forgotten them after their teen years. So it talks about like youth ministry can be great,
Right.
right? So I taught our teens this last week, had 40 of them, it was a blast, like
Yeah.
absolute blast. In fact, I almost fired the youth director and told him we're changing jobs. Right? He can be the lead pastor, and I'm taking the youth. Like this was a blast. And then I remember a youth director, and I thought, nope, we don't want to do that.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
we're not doing that every week.
but
That was a one-off that you had.
yeah, I know. I wouldn't want to do it every week. But then once they graduate from high school, we spend a lot of time on couples ministry, marriage ministry.
Yeah.
But there's that gap.
Yeah, for sure.
From 18 to 22, like where do they fit in the church? Like that's who you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that our heart, because we realize like in our campus ministry, like we only have them for a 4-year season. So our heart is to keep them connected to the local church.
Yeah.
And I will say that from a lot of them we talk to, their local churches don't even offer anything for them at that age.
Yeah.
So they do feel like they're kind of wandering, like, I just don't even know where to go.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes sense.
So what advice would you give to pastors, or not just pastors, a church, an average size church? It's not a mega church that has, you can have 300 college age students. Like how do you
Right.
engage your 18 to 23, 24-year-olds in the life of the church?
So, I mean, what I did when I was first in ministry, right out of Bible college, I was a youth pastor. But I was like, hey, these people that feel like they have a hard time finding their place in the church, I was like, they're around my age.
Yeah.
So what if I just did something for people my age? Also, so I had something to do.
Right.
Does that make sense? 'Cause
Yeah.
my best friends couldn't be 14. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically, I just started having weekly hangouts at my house. And then at some point, someone was like, hey, I can play guitar. Like, what if we sang some songs? And then it just became a thing.
Yeah.
We did a Bible study just organically
Yeah, just
in my living room.
Keep it regular and keep it natural, and
That was it.
Yeah, just let it kind of develop on its own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to pay a staff person. It
Yeah.
didn't require a lot of administration. It was just a group of people hanging out, talking about Jesus, doing life together.
Yeah. The next one he mentions why they leave the church is that they sometimes come from Christian homes marked by hypocrisy. So what they see from their family on Sunday doesn't match what they see through the week. So when they have the opportunity not to go to church, I think in their minds like, why would I go to church?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a big part of my story. I saw that kind of stuff at home. And so like I brought up earlier, it's like, if this is as good as it gets,
Yeah. Why am I going to try so hard?
yeah, I'd rather just not try that
Yeah.
hard. So I think that is true.
Yeah. The last one is they don't know many strong believers in their church. So he's saying that it's not that there's not strong believers in the church, it's that they haven't met the strong believers in their church, or they're not connected with them.
Yeah. Or they may not know who those people are.
Yeah.
Because I do think sometimes we put it in our mind like a strong, if I'm going to use us in the context of guys, right?
Yeah.
A strong guy believer is this guy that's out front, taking territory. He's the William Wallace, right?
Yep.
But it's like there are guys I know that I respect and adore in the Christian faith, and they're strong believers, but like their biggest
They're also a
platform
little
is
standoffish too.
they got introverted.
Yeah.
But it's like their biggest platform is a small group of guys in a Sunday school class
Yeah.
or whatever. But they've been dedicated. They're great husbands, great fathers. And I think we have to, in the church world, have to like help connect to like, hey, it's not just the people that are up front that are that. There's a lot of people not up there that are also that. And
Yeah.
like showcase that can be a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's on those older men though to go grab those younger guys,
That's fair.
because the younger guys, your teenagers, your college age, they're probably not going up to some 40-year-old or 50-year-old or 70-year-old
not.
like, hey man,
Yeah.
can we hang out?
Right. And that's not happening on campus, I can tell you
Right?
that.
Yeah, right. You're playing ultimate frisbee or volleyball, right? You're out there and intentional on that. So I think
Yeah.
in the church, it's like you see a younger guy and you go ask him, can we go? We always talk about that for guys. Like, I mean, I've got coffee 3 times today with different guys, but we always say like you should probably do something, because guys don't like usually just sitting around talking.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like why we started the podcast in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, just to kind of reach people on a different level.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something a little bit different. You can listen to me talk for 20 minutes, or listen to you talk and me chime in for 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can pick something up from it. And
For
if
sure.
you just pick up one thing, that's great. I mean,
And I think too, like you said something and just kind of jogged my memory. We say something to our male staff. We're like, we talked about we do one-on-one discipleship. We tell our female staff like, hey, sometimes sitting at coffee is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
Guys, sometimes guys really like to do life shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
And so like when I've had guys that I'm discipling, I'm like, hey, I got to work on my car. Come over. And
Yeah.
we're talking about stuff like while I'm teaching them a valuable life skill, like how to change
Yeah.
brake pads. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I do think that there's something to guys that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of wired that way.
Yeah. It was a lot more fun, like with Nick on Saturday, trying to put him into the wall in a NASCAR than sitting around getting coffee with Nick. I
Right.
can guarantee you that.
Yeah,
Or
for
when
sure.
we've been
That's
squirrel
awesome.
hunting, watching him try to hit a squirrel or something. It's like,
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder is the best way.
it is.
I mean,
Deep sea fishing, whatever it looks like, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
deep sea fishing was good.
Yeah.
We should do that again.
We should. So we have our like questions at the end. Like,
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, you're also a personal trainer, right?
I do that on the side.
On the
yeah.
side. All right,
On the
so-
side.
Don't be asking
It's
for
not
his
my
card
main
for me,
gig.
okay?
It's not my main
So-
gig. But dude, I'd love to train you if you're interested.
Here we
But
go.
you're actually not far from him.
Yeah.
Like where he goes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we talk a lot about fitness on this because we think
Yeah.
discipline's important for guys. We talk all the time about discipline with in every area of your life, and a lot of that starts with fitness because if you can get that, that helps everything else.
Sure.
Is this our second personal trainer?
It is. Yeah.
I haven't reached out to the other one either.
No. So, guy comes to you, 35 years old, never works out of shape, eats pizza, drinks beer every night.
Okay.
What's your recommendation to him? Like overall, like fitness.
My recommendation right away is we have to find something we know he will actually do
Oh.
to help make steps. I
What are
think.
you looking at me for?
I think.
I'm not
Get outta
looking at
here.
I wasn't sure if he was talking about you in that illustration.
He wasn't.
But
Nick's
then I didn't think so.
36.
He said, I was going to say, he said 30 something. I
Oh,
was like,
yeah,
that's probably
there
not
we
him,
go.
right?
He's 36. Great, thanks.
So like I think where we get into trouble is sometimes we'll tell guys like, "Oh, are you going to be in the gym 4 times a week?" And it's
Yeah.
like they've never been in the gym before. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So what I mean is like take a small step. What's something you know you'll stay disciplined with? Let's start there and start to build the habits
Okay.
until they take on the identity of a lifter.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Because when you're like, "I'm a lifter," then you're
Yeah.
in the gym.
Yeah.
But until you think
You have
like
your
that,
water jug and your tank top.
dude, listen, all of
Lifter.
it, all
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. What about nutrition? What do you tell them?
I basically put them on a macronutrient plan that's
Okay.
suitable for whatever their goals are.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that language makes sense, but
Yeah.
fats, carbs,
Yep.
protein. So
Yeah. So if guys want to get a hold of you for either to get more information about your ministry, how they could get behind you, or questions about personal training, like how can they connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram, Joshua J Sousa. On
How do you spell your last
Yeah,
name?
good luck spelling that.
Sousa.
All right, Joshua J. Sousa.
Sousa, yeah. That's the best way.
Okay,
for
Instagram.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I just found out you can send messages on Instagram.
Yeah, that's right.
We
Called
have
DMs.
DMs. Look at Blake. He looks so disappointed. So it's actually a friend of Nick and I's, and he sends me reels.
Yeah,
But-
they're awesome.
Well, yeah, they are. I see him on YouTube.
Okay.
But he's been sending me on Instagram. He goes, "Man, why don't you look at the stuff?" And I was like, "I don't know. I never get on." So he gets on my phone, finds Instagram. I didn't know I had it, and then goes to my messages. So
Nick
now
sent you thousands
And so that's what
that
it
you've
is.
never replied to.
It's friends that sent me reels, and he'd sent me a bunch. He wanted me to see them. So yeah. So Instagram. All right, we ready for these questions?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
ready.
so.
I'm excited.
Nick, do you remember? I'm kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
forget them. All right, here we go.
Which Bible character would you like to meet? Not Jesus.
Bible character I'd like to meet outside of Jesus.
Yep.
Probably Peter.
Okay.
Why's that?
Peter just seems like a guy. Like, here's the thing. I like a guy I don't have to motivate, but I have to rein in.
Oh yeah.
And Peter's the kind of guy that like he had to be reined
We
in.
are going to be
Yeah.
friends.
You know?
Get back in the boat, Peter. Like,
That's it. Yeah,
he
for
just
sure.
jumps out. Yep. All right. Next question.
Favorite book? Not the Bible, obviously.
Man, it's hard. I love to read. I read a book recently that I thought was really good. It's called
Okay.
Jesus and the Undoing of Adam by C. Baxter Kruger.
Okay.
Really, I recommend it.
All right.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Who would play you in a movie?
Who should or who would I want
Who
to?
would you want to play you? There we go.
If I'm going with the look that I have, which is like bald with just a little bit of scruff, probably Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that resemblance.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I've never been told I look like anybody. That's the thing. I don't like.
Yeah.
No one's like, "Oh, you look like so and so."
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Is that all the questions?
I think there's one more I can't remember.
Blake, do you remember the other questions? Okay, man, he's done with us.
Yeah, he's over it.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on.
And thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's been great to talk with you about young guys and things. And,
Yeah.
connect with Josh on Instagram and
Josh Salsa.
Salsa.
Sousa.
Sousa.
I said salsa. There's no L in there.
Yeah, well, you can make a OU into
Thanks
an L.
to, we got to wrap this up.
Okay,
Thanks to
sorry.
Workforce Chaplains for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah.
Make sure to, I'm getting it, subscribe on YouTube. I got it.
Nice.
Blake's giving me a thumbs up.
All right.
Subscribe on YouTube.
We need to make
Watch
you
it
some
there.
notes.
Share it. Yeah, well, I should have notes. All
Yeah.
right.
We'll work
Yeah,
on
thanks
that.
for joining us. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. See you guys.